Hi, welcome here. My name is Meg and thank you for joining me for this cozy crochet video. Tonight I'm sipping on some hot chocolate and snacking on these cacao brownie smooshed protein balls. So if you like, grab yourself a drink and a snack, and maybe your own crochet project, and we can crochet together. Tonight I'm making a Sunburst Granny Square with two colours, starting with this cream colour for the centre and making a ring to begin with a chain 4 and then joining with a slip stitch, and then making a standing double crochet, or you could do a chain 3 to start if you prefer. And then into the center of the ring I'm making 15 more double crochets. In this video I'll be using US crochet terms, so if you prefer UK terms, I'll let you do the conversion. I started crocheting a bit over a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago, just learning from YouTube videos and a lot of trial and error. But I feel like I've gotten the hang of it and now I'm completely hooked, pun intended. I find it's a really relaxing activity for any time of the day, but at night is nice. Instead of scrolling on my phone, I'll just pick up my crochet. I also like to crochet on the train and watch the world go by. You might have noticed my kitty cat just on the top of the screen. I'm sure she'll pop up onto the lounge in a moment. She always likes to be nearby. Her name is Willow and she's a long hair ragdoll. Just counting my stitches, checking if I have enough. Need one more. And then joining with a slip stitch. If you'd like a more thorough tutorial, I have a video posted on my channel. I'll put the link in the description below. And there's the first round done. Time for some hot chocolate. So let me know in the comments, do you like to crochet or maybe you knit? Do you have other craft projects that you work on? And for the second round I'm doing puff stitches. And then a chain 2. Oh, there she is, popping up on the lounge. I'm giving her some space. Try not to get her tangled up in my yarn. Tonight I'm using an acrylic yarn. It's an 8-ply acrylic from Spotlight. If you're in Australia, you'll be familiar with Spotlight. And this is just one of their more affordable yarns. It comes in a huge range of colours, so that's why I really like it. And even better when you can pick it up on sale. And I think the size hook I'm using here is a 5mm hook. But you could use whichever size you're comfortable with, or depending on the project you're working on. I'm doing the last puff stitch of the round, and then checking I have 16. And then joining with a slip stitch. And for the last round I'm doing a bobble stitch. And then a chain 2. So there's the second round all done. I also like crochet because it's quite quick to work up. I've heard it's a lot quicker than knitting, but I think it uses more yarn than knitting does. But I found it a lot easier to pick up than knitting. My mum's knitter, but I never quite got into it. She taught me when I was little a couple of times, you know, when you're a kid and you pick things up and then abandon them 20 minutes later. But this time the crochet is stuck. When pulling my yarn from the center, I prefer to do a center pull to stop your ball of yarn rolling all over the place. It can be a little tricky to start. If you've tried a center pull, you know you kind of just reach into the middle and hope for the best, and then a whole clump of wool tends to come out, a clump of yarn. But once you get it started, I find it a lot easier. I'm working on the last bubble stitch here. And there's the third round. Double checking the counts. Making sure I've got 16 all the way around. And then joining with a slip stitch. So that's the center portion finished. Snipping my yarn with a bit of a tail left on the end. And pulling the tail through. And there's the sunburst part all done. Having another protein ball. These ones are so yummy. I love the cacao brownie flavor. So next I'm going to start on the background with this salmon colour. I think it's actually called peach. It's a bit hard to tell the colour in this lighting. So I'm just joining that on with a slip stitch. And then starting with a chain 3. So from this point on it's like a granny square. So I'll be doing clusters of 3 stitches in each gap between the bubble stitch. And this first round will make it into a square shape. So we've got the round section, and then the way that you do the stitches is longer stitches in the corners and then shorter stitches along the sides, and that makes it into a square. And you can see here what I mean about the center pull, ending up with a whole chunk of wool coming out. I also like to crochet over my tail, so I've just folded that over there, and I'm making sure to crochet over it as I go. So in the corner here I'm doing 3 treble crochets, a chain 2, and then 3 more double crochets into the same space. Into the next gap I'm doing 3 double crochets. And then into the next space 3 half double crochets. 3 double crochets into the next space. 1, 2, and the third one I'm going to the loop of the tail to secure the tail. 3, and then pulling that tail taut. And then 3 treble crochets into the next corner. 1, 2, 3, 'Pulling out that hemorrhage of yarn. Oh god. It is easy to sort out though, it doesn't get too tangled. And then chain 2 in the corners, and 3 more treble crochets into the same space. 1, 2, 3. And there's the next corner. In the next space I'm doing 3 double crochets. Into the next space I'm doing 3 half double crochets. And then 3 double crochets. And then 3 treble crochets into the next space. Chain 2, and then 3 more treble crochets into that corner. Three double crochets. 1, 2, 3. 3 half double crochets. 1, 2, 3. 3 double crochets. 1. Oh, lost my loop. 2. 3. 3 treble crochets. 1, 2, 3, chain 2, and then we're coming to the last side, so I'm going to crochet over the tail of the center portion. Folding it over. Three double crochets into the next space. 1, 2, 3. 3 half double crochets. 1, 2, 3. three doubles into the next space. 1, 2, 3, and then joining with a slip stitch into the top of the first chain 3 that we started with. Sometimes it can be a little tricky to find. Slip stitch, and now you can see how it's turned into a square. For the next round, it'll be like a regular granny square. We're just doing clusters of double crochets in the gaps. So to start, I'm going to slip stitch my way to the corner, and then I'm starting with a standing double crochet, and then doing 2 more double crochets into the corner. Then a chain 2 and 3 double crochets into the same space. And finding the next gap for the next 3 double crochets. And then just continuing in the same way all the way around, finding the gap in between the clusters from the round before, and then adding 3 double crochets into that gap. I also don't do a chain in between my clusters. I find that it sits nicely without, but if you prefer to do a chain in between, then of course you can. And for the corners, I'm doing a chain 2, but if you prefer a chain 1 or a chain 3, go for it. Just realised I accidentally did a treble. Go back. We're just doing doubles from here on. That's the other nice thing about crochet, is it's really easy to undo and redo if you need to, or if you drop a stitch, well, not really drop a stitch, but if the loops come off your hook, it's really easy just to pop them back on and continue on. this part of the square can become really meditative and mesmerizing because I'm just doing the same stitch over and over again. I don't have to think too much. I just keep going. So it's relaxing to do, but also really relaxing to watch. It's kind of, mesmerizing, the repetitive motion. And going over to the last side of this round. And then joining with a slip stitch. Just try to find the back side of this stitch. Got it. And there's the next round done. So from here on you could keep going as far as you like. You can make these squares as small or large as you like to, depending on what you're making. For me, I'm making a blanket out of these squares. So I'm making them a bit under 20 centimeters. I'll be joining them together with a join as you go method. And when you do that, it adds another row, so that will make them a bit bigger to make them 20 centimeters when they're finished. And this blanket is for, it'll be donated to a local organisation called the Creative Fringe. They run an annual challenge called the TOTS Blanket Challenge, and TOTS stands for Think Outside the Square. And every year they up their goal, like the goal of how many blankets the community makes. And this year for 2026, the goal is 1,000 blankets. And then they're donated to people in need and charities and different places around the area, the state. I think some even go interstate. So it's a really nice cause and a really nice reason to be making a blanket. They accept donations of blankets but also squares, so that's why I was saying 20 centimeter squares, because that's the size they accept, even though I'm making this into a blanket, so I could make them whatever size I like, but I like to stick to that kind of 20 centimeter guideline. So for this blanket I'll be making 42 squares altogether and then joining them all together into a 6x7 arrangement, meaning 6 squares by 7 squares. And then I might do a nice border around the edge, maybe a scalloped edge. So stay tuned for future videos for more squares and more colours, and then also I'll film joining them together and adding the border. It can be a bit daunting when you're starting out with this quest of making a blanket. It can feel like a really big project, but when you do them square by square, it's a lot easier to get through it, and you don't even realize how much progress you're making until the squares start stacking up, and then you can just join them together and you've got a blanket. The first one I made was last year, and I kind of gaslit myself into making a blanket. It wasn't my intention. I just started making squares to learn or to practice, and then I thought, oh, these colours would look really nice together, and then I thought, oh, I want to put them in this kind of arrangements, and then I thought, oh, I could probably join them together, that can't be too hard. And then all of a sudden I had a blanket made without even really meaning to. And so this year I'm being a bit more purposeful about it, and chose particular colours I thought were nice together, and have an idea of what I want it to look like, and the pattern on the square having this starburst pattern, like flowers in the middle of every square, so it'll have like a spring kind of vibe to it with the colours and the design. And I'm sure we'll go to someone who will enjoy it and love it as much as I've enjoyed making it. Another thing I like about this Sunburst Granny Square is it adds a bit of interest when I'm making it. When you make granny squares, just plain granny squares, I find it a bit boring after a while, just doing double crochets over and over again. So having the center part have a different stitch for every round breaks up the monotony a bit. So while it's kind of meditative and relaxing to do the same thing over and over, it can get a bit boring. So I find having the sunburst in the center adds a bit of interest, both for when I'm making it and visually. Lily's rearranging herself. Thank you. Does she want a pat? Be a little chin scratch. And then joining at the end here with a slip stitch. And that's how it looks. We've got one more round to go. Starting with the standing double crochet. 2 more double crochets. Chain 2 and 3 double crochets in the corner. So you could change the colours for every row, if you didn't want the background to have all the same colour, you could change the colour whenever you like. I've just chosen to do the Sunburst all in cream and the background in colour. You could swap those over and have the Sunburst in the colour and the background is more of a plain colour, but I wanted to have a bit more colour dominate this blanket. like to go. Finishing off, joining with the slip stitch. And that's the last round done. Snipping the yarn, leaving a tail to weave in later. And then pulling the tail through. And there we go. That's my Sunburst Granny Square all done. Let me know if you enjoyed this video. If you'd like to see others, I have some similar videos posted to my channel. And let me know if you like this voiceover style. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day or evening. And thank you for spending some time with me, hanging out and crocheting and cuddling the cat. I hope to see you again next time. Bye.